Okay, hi, this is We Are Awakening, and this talk is going to be the talk proper. I'm going to skip a lot of the introduction and just go straight to the main talk because I want to get everything into one video that's there for everyone to see. So this will be on YouTube and on the website. So this talk, it tackles the big questions in life. Maybe doesn't even tackle, that's a bit of an aggressive kind of way of putting it. It goes into the big questions of life, like who are we? What are we doing here? And what is this life really all about? And these are huge questions which we all decide for ourselves. And yet hopefully what is presented here is gonna kind of give you something to think about, give you something to just feel into and decide for yourself. So accept what you want, reject what you don't want, but be open to the possibility of this as a real expression of reality. So here we go. Like throughout my search for meaning, for something real, something that actually had significance on a real, felt, direct, human, spiritual, personal world level. Throughout this search, I was really looking, and I felt like I was peeling away all the bits of me that were not me. So all the bits, like my associations to things, the labels that I'd stuck on myself, all these different ideas we have about ourselves. I'd been scrutinizing them, looking at them, seeing if this was really me or not, because I wanted to know, who am I? What am I here for? I really wanted to know. And in wanting to know, I was they talk about polishing the mirror of perception. It's like, or cleaning the windows of perception. It's like you clean away the dust and you can gradually see the picture. And that's how it was. It was also like peeling away all the kind of layers I'd built around my essence, kind of peeling them away, like from the outside in, until I got to this more spacious kind of place where things felt real. And this is where I get to the talk. So in my mind, I don't know how it happened. I don't even know exactly what it was, but it was I like to see it as a vision. I had this vision of a burning ball of light, and this burning ball of light is presented at the top here, the top picture. And somehow on a deep level, I just knew that this was the answer to my questions. I just knew that this was who I was. This was what life was all about, and this is what we're doing here. This is all of it. And you might think that this circle doesn't really bring those answers, but over time it kind of unpacked into a whole way of seeing, and this is the whole journey. This unpacking of this pure light, this ball of light, is the journey I'm going to be talking about today. So yeah, this light, as it entered my consciousness, as I was aware of this light in my mind, it was like a feeling of bliss, of release, of love, of just the answer to the questions I've been looking for. And over time, this singular vision kind of unpacked itself into these three pictures, mainly these three pictures here. And so these pictures are a way of seeing our reality, a way of seeing the answers to those big questions. So this original light that I saw, I knew instinctively or intuitively, I knew that it was love, I knew that it was peace, I knew that it was, I was going to say joy. I don't mean like pleasure-pain dichotomy, I mean like a pure kind of joy. I knew it was pure consciousness, pure energy, all of these things. I knew it was love, light, I knew it was God, I knew it was divinity, I knew it was true nature. There are so many words, and yet there was just this light that told me all this, and it unpacked into those words as I sought to understand it, you know. And there was this feeling of wholeness, of oneness. I mean, people might say we are one, and this to me was not an external circle, a ball of light. It was everything. It was everything and nothing, and they're the words that came to me: everything and nothing. And the logical sort of day-to-day mind finds that very difficult to understand. Everything and nothing, and yet it was kind of like it embraced the paradox. It embraced the contradiction, and it accommodated everything. So this light was something that, it was a wholeness, accommodating everything, but yet to be born into all the different parts. It was like a pure potential. And I knew it was perfection. And so from this point it was like, okay, so this is who we are, and this is also perfection. And I felt like there was more to this. There was more to explore in this, and this is where the other two pictures came from. So I don't know if you want to kind of join in a little bit with this. If you feel you've got any ideas, please say. But what would this perfection? What would it be missing? This pure love, this pure light, total oneness, everything that ever was, will be, and is now. What would it be missing? Yeah. All encompassing, definitely it is. Mm. Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. So just for the recording, I'm going to repeat what you just said because it probably didn't come across. You said that it might be missing action. It might be missing something to do. Well, you didn't say that. I said that. You said action. It might be missing action, and you said you noticed the other two pictures, and maybe they suggest that action, and that's exactly. I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly how it is. It missed, the way I say it, it missed, or it wanted an experience, because oneness cannot have experience. If you have oneness, you can be a pure essence, but you cannot know your pure essence, because in order to know something, we need that which is known and that which knows, or like an entity that knows and an entity that is known. It's like we need something that's experienced and an experiencer to experience that thing. So we need a split in order for experience to happen. And so this divine light, yes, it desired to know itself. That pure love that it was, that pure potential, it desired to really understand and know what it was, what it is. And so with this desire to experience, it burst apart into, this is the second picture we're coming to here, it burst apart into duality, into multiplicity, into many, from one and into many. This is that part there. Just, I don't know if you can see that on the video. So yeah, it burst apart into parts, from wholeness to parts. And amidst the parts, we can kind of have an experience. Each human being, each animal, each tree, every form of life, because this pure light is also life. It's the essence of life. And so as it bursts apart into its experience, life takes on new form. Life takes on a costume, if you like. So spiritual essence takes on an expression, and this is what we are. This divine light desired to experience itself, to know itself, and it desired to express itself in order to know itself. And so this is what each part is doing. Like, each human being is experiencing the world and expressing their own creativity. Like, they're expressing, whether we think we're creative or not, we are on many levels choosing our reality, and this is our creative power, because we came from this pure creative potential, creative power of the universe, which burst apart through its desire to want to know itself, and it burst apart into a whole spectrum of light and dark, of, up and down, left and right, good and bad, male and female, plus and minus, negativity, positivity. It's like, as you see the lines going out, that is kind of splitting into a spectrum of colours, maybe. Like, this could be pure white light, and the spectrum could be a spectrum of, the colours of the rainbow. Each colour, if you like, is a different expression of the original white light. Like, if you merge all colours together as if they're lights, then they create white light. Yeah. So each person is a single strand of this one consciousness. If you see ourselves as like body, mind's entity, we're a single strand of that consciousness exploring itself. And so that outward movement, you can see as we go out and out, we get further and further away from our source, from our divine essence. And it starts off when we're close to our source, we're just enjoying creation, enjoying our ability to express and create and determine who and what and where we want to be. And so we define ourselves, we express ourselves, we learn about ourselves in kind of material existence. We learn about ourselves in the world. But there comes a point where we define, through our expression and our experience, we create an identity that we get lost in. And it's like our definition, we decide who and what we are in exclusion to everything else. That's how we come to define ourselves. And so in the world, it seems like a lot of us have defined ourselves as separate. We've just sort of concentrated on this separate part of ourselves and forgotten that we are the divine coming into an experience of itself. And this may sound terrible and awful, but it's all part of the journey. I mean, because if we didn't forget who we were and move away from this original source, by the way, all the lights, they're all that one light, because essentially there is only this one light. But if we didn't forget that light and move into an experience, we wouldn't be able to experience remembering that light. It's like a journey of forgetting our true nature in order to have an experience, and remember our true nature. So like I said at the beginning, this burning ball of light, the only thing it lacked was an experience. And so the second picture on the bottom left, it's like a linear beginning, middle and an end. And you see in the middle, the very middle of that picture, that's when we've gone really far out from our source and into many divisions, more and more kind of towards the outer edges of the branches of the tree. And we start to feel lost. We start to feel like there's no meaning in our lives. Like everything is kind of, we're just a part in this random world where nothing is really has any purpose, and we just feel like, what's the point? Where's the meaning? And this is where we start to see the limits of our own limited experience. So we can still enjoy expressing ourselves and creating as an extension of this creative power of the universe that we are, but as only limited parts, we start to feel like not quite touching it, not quite being full, or not quite there, not quite wherever there is, we're not quite feeling it. And as we'll see later, it's because we're not quite here. But what I'm saying is, at the center of this picture, that kind of represents the turning point. So, I mean, it's just represented by the center of this picture, but really it's a whole huge process that we go through. It's this crisis of meaning that we need to see our limitations in order to transcend them, in order to go into something new. We need to see that the way we're functioning isn't working in order to go into a new way of functioning. And it's like, as we've distanced ourselves from our source, we seek to return to it, because in distancing ourselves, we're distancing ourselves from ourselves, because this is our true essence. This is the pure light at the top is the true essence of us. This is us. And so as we start to remember this, we start to come back in. We start to transcend our limitations. We start to recognize what really makes us happy. So we start to recognize the symbols of limitation, like money and power over other people, aren't what makes us happy. These things are limited to, like, the idea of a separate self against all other separate selves, and it's like we're just all fragmented, and there's no cohesion in our world and our society like this. So we start to realize the unity behind the drama of parts, behind all the different expressions and all the multitude of different ways which are all beautiful and necessary. We start to see the unity. It's like, for example, when you're in the outward movement, maybe you invest yourself in a particular religion at the exclusion of other religions, and then perhaps you feel like, well, actually, why is my religious group fighting other religious groups? And then you start to come back to the idea of, not the idea, but the lived reality of love, which says in all religions, know yourself and know that you are love, essentially. And in recognizing that, we're seeing the unity, which means we can come back in to the source we came from. So this second picture is a linear representation of a non-linear reality. So here we've got beginning, middle and end. but actually, as we'll see in the third picture, it's not linear at all. It's not linear at all. But before we go into that bit, I just want to talk a little bit more about this journey. So the second picture. So we start at the pure essence, we end at the pure essence. This pure essence is a timelessness, the absence of time and space. Because in order to have time and space, we need multiplicity or duality. If it's a oneness, like this light, we cannot have an experience there because there's no variation in space, no variation in time. And so we're all the same. Yeah. Any questions at this point, or is? No? Okay, cool. If you start to kind of lose the thread, please tell me, and I'll try and kind of reiterate or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, we go from a timelessness into an experience which is a variation in time and space. That's where we have our expression, our experience as limited, like where our mind is identified with limitation, or the consciousness that we are is identified with limitation of a separate me. Then we start to see that a separate me isn't making me happy. It's quite a strange thing to say, but if we're, or it's not strange at all, if we're only identifying with a separate sense of self, we're excluding the rest of reality because we think it's not us, when actually it is us, and we're seeking to unite ourselves back to our reality, which is our source. Okay, so this process is forgetting, this process is remembering, this process is breathing out and breathing in. This is a circular or cycular process which you can see reflected in nature, like it's reflected in the passing of the seasons. It's like the spring, the summer, the autumn, the winter. It's reflected in the in and out of the waves of the sea. It's in our own breath, it's in our own breathing. And I mean the very word inspiration and expiration, it's like into spirit, out of spirit. This is the meaning of these words. To expire, it's like to go out of spirit. To inspire, to come back to spirit. And so it's like we have our state of pure essence, we get a bit bored, we go out into an experience, and then we kind of enjoy that, then we see limitations of that, and we come back to our essence in wanting to transcend those limitations. So being who we are, forgetting who we are for the sake of an experience, in order to learn who we are, as we remember again, we come back. So this process can be seen as a universal one. It can be seen as the Big Bang. I mean, science talks about the Big Bang, or mainstream science talks about the Big Bang, and the initial birth of our universe, or of all that is, can be seen as the Big Bang. This is essentially the same process. I'm not trying to fit science to what came to me, or what I came to, but it does fit in those terms up to a point. Like up to the center of this diagram, it fits because this pure light is in science it was like everything came from a single point. A lot of mainstream science says everything came from a single point, and the birth of the whole universe, of everything that is, was that Big Bang. And this, I'm saying, is the birth of experience. You see the parallel? It's like the birth of the Big Bang, which everything came from. Like at first, it was not humans and plants and trees or whatever, but it was gases and molecules and the building blocks of life. Yeah, the second part. This is yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Well, this, like I say, I'm not trying to fit this to the Big Bang, and yet it does have some parallels. Mostly, I'm just sort of saying that the birth is like a parallel to the Big Bang, but there's different scientific ideas as to what will happen to the universe. Some scientists think it will expand out forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, keep expanding, and some actually believe that there will be this thing called Big Crunch. I mean, if you look it up, you'll see it's this idea. You're smiling like I'm making it up, but I'm not. Where the universe will come back to a single point, or it'll collapse in on itself. And yeah, admittedly, science isn't giving it the same kind of perspective as I am. I'm looking at a more spiritual perspective, where science tends to focus on the material perspective. So, what was I saying? I was saying about, so the idea of expanding out, coming back in. Yeah, this is a universal process, the whole universe, and it's also personal. So, I mean, you can see this as the birth of one person, the birth and death of one person, or the you can even see it in our individual actions, like you're at the beginning, you're at your house, and you need some bread from the shop. So this is your experience you want to have. You go out, you get your bread, and you come back to your home. You come back to your home with the knowledge. Okay, if you're going out to get your bread, you come back with your bread. But this process, I say, you go out to come back in, and it's not just a meaningless cycle, because you come back in with the knowledge of yourself, with what you went out for. And so this process is in the universe, this process is in us, and it's again, just like, need to suspend many of our assumptions to get this bit, but we are in this process, and this process is also in us, because we are in the universe, and yet the creative power of the universe is also in us, and we are extensions of that in many ways. It's not, I think one of the fundamental problems with the mainstream way of looking at things is it gives us the idea that we're fragments cast out and we're lost at sea, when really it's all connected, and we are this process happening. We are this process happening. But a lot of the time, society gets lost in the part, and it doesn't transcend this idea that each one of us is a limited part, and so we pollute the environment because we don't feel on a real level that it's important. We don't. I'm making generalization here, but you can see it in the world. We still chuck away crap when perhaps if we really, really, really knew, then we'd be more conscientious, and we're kind of, if we really knew that the earth was us and we are the earth, and it's a shared spiritual journey of oneness coming to know itself, then maybe we'd be a bit lighter on the earth. Okay, so yeah, like I say, we get lost in the part and we think this is us, but we are the fragments of the divine light, and the divine light knows no fragments. It is essentially a oneness. This divine light is essentially a oneness, as we talked about before. And we're going to just move to the third picture. Is the second one alright? Anything? Right, okay. So I said it's a linear representation, the second one, of a non-linear process. This third one goes some way to explain why it's not a linear process. Okay, so if we've got a timeless beginning and a timeless ending, I was trying to work out. I saw your face there. I thought, is that a realization, or is that just? This is. Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense. Not at all. I'm glad you picked up on that, because usually I put those two in inverted commas: a beginning and an end that is timeless. Because beginning and an end only exist in time, right? And so this is what I'm saying. If we come from timelessness and we end at timelessness, then really timelessness at the beginning and timelessness at the end, it's only timelessness. There's no beginning, there's no end. There's just an absence of time. So time is only something created in a process. That's a beautiful way to put it, yeah. And when it's no longer necessary for the process, it goes. Exactly, yeah. Because time and space are there for us to have our experience. Yeah, they're the grounds for that divine light to have its experience. But when the divine light has had its experience, it has no need for time and space anymore. Time and space have collapsed back into itself. And what you started with at the beginning is what you end with at the end. And so where are we now? Where are we now? If as parts we exist in this time and space experience, but there was a timeless beginning and there is a timeless end, then timelessness is all there is. And so this is what this whole talk comes back to, actually. This pure light of love is all that there is. And so this is where we must be here and now. This is the third picture, the bottom right. Wherever we are in this time and space matrix, this time and space, divine time and space experiential ground, wherever we are in that, whether we are on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday or Sunday, whether we're last year, this year or next year, whenever we exist and wherever we exist, at all times we are here and we are now. So if, for example, last week you were visiting a friend, then at that time last week it was here and now. At that time last week. This is not, I'm not getting into really difficult concepts here. This is like this one particular one is when it clicks, it's like the most obvious thing in the world. Like, I am here now, yeah, but when I go home later tonight, I will talk about this as though it was the past. But when I was here, when I am here, it's here and now, yeah. So I don't know if I think you see what I'm saying, that whatever time we are in, all of our thoughts and actions are happening now. It's all happening now, because now is the only thing, any time anything ever happens. Here and now is the only time anything ever happens, because here and now is all there is. Here and now is this eternity outside of time. Here and now is this pure essence. We are this here and now. It's just we have invested ourselves out in the time and space, in all of our identities, in our roles and in our habits and likes and dislikes, that we've forgotten that at all times We are here and now, and we are this pure spiritual essence having an experience. And so who you are is not a limited experience. Who you are is the essence, the life that is running through that experience. And this is the case for every one of us and all of us. So this puts us in a strange situation in a way. It's like a contradiction, because we have a timeline. We have in our lives, we have a timeline, and we have a past, we have a future, and we will have a future, and we have now. But every moment of our lives is lived here and now. Well, it's difficult because it means that we live in time and space on one hand, like the world we live in functions in time and space, and yet we're also always just here and now. And so to me this is like a contradiction in the way we look at the world. Okay. It doesn't feel like a contradiction, no. Okay. How does that feel?
If the starting point is there is no time and space, everything is one, and that's pure essence, joy, whatever, and you're always in that, regardless of if you turn your back, face away from it or face to it, you're always in it. So if I'm seeing it differently in the picture actually. I'm seeing it, like that doesn't describe to me what you're describing.
Okay.
I would draw it very differently.
Yeah, I think everyone would draw it differently actually. Yeah.
But like, I would see it more as that first one being just in it and choosing what it kind of an experience within that.
Yeah.
So if you're creating an experience, and that could be anything, it could be time, it could be space, it could be whatever you need personally to understand the essence. So it doesn't seem like a contradiction because you've created everything.
Yeah. Great.
So you can create anything.
Yeah, exactly.
To understand that.
Great. So it's
Time and space, it's not a contradiction, it's just a concept and creation.
yeah, brilliant. All right, so that's cool. That's there's no, like you said, there doesn't have to be a contradiction there, and that to me is like a sign of a great reconciliation or a great coming back to self. You know, like you acknowledging that there doesn't have to be a contradiction, and so it's like this process is if you come, it seems, yeah, like a coming to terms with that process in a way where it feels right within you, and that sounds great. That sounds great. But I'll just reiterate a bit about what you said. You said that wherever we are, whether we're looking and seeing that we're that source or not, we are always that, and that is very much this process. We can look away and think we only exist as a limited fragment in time and space, but we are always only that pure light, because that is all that there is. And yet we can look and we can see that pure light, and in doing so see our unity and bring that unity into our experience. So it's like, because this is consciousness, pure consciousness, having an experience, and we are that consciousness choosing what experience to have, we can decide whether we want to have an experience of separation. We can decide whether we want to have an experience of unity. Simple as that, really. And that's not the only. They're not the only two choices, because we can choose to have an experience of unity through the separation. It's like a lot of spiritual traditions, they perhaps run away from the world and go up to the mountain, just focusing on that unity of life, meditation, that inward sort of essence of life, which is a beautiful thing. But I personally feel that there's a need for that essence to be brought into our experience on a day-to-day level. So whatever we're doing, whether we consider it to be spiritual or not, is beside the point, because the whole process is a spiritual process. And through recognizing this unity, we have the ability to create heaven on earth, to bring this spiritual unity into expression on earth. So rather than a world where we see conflict, we can bring in cooperation. We can, through seeing our unity, there's a natural urge to want to cooperate, because it just seems like a natural extension of what we come to know. So this is why we need to know ourselves deeply, because if we only know ourselves as separate, we create a world of separateness and distance and difference and conflict. And in that separation, yes, there's the chance for cooperation, but that cooperation usually comes when the unity is seen, like the unity of life is kind of understood on some level. And it's like the more we understand our unity, the more we create our unity in the world through what we do, through the choices we make. Like, we no longer, when you know it's all consciousness having an experience, and you are choosing what consciousness wants to be. When you know that, then maybe we make empowering choices that reflect our creative potential, rather than box it in and negate it and tell us that it's not worth anything. So it's all about understanding ourselves, to understand our inherent value, to understand that we are this timeless essence which is choosing what it wants to be. So I said at one point that this also represents eternity. When I say that, I don't mean time and space that goes on forever. I mean the absence of time, And when I said about bridging heaven and earth, or bringing this spiritual essence into our experience, this picture of a cross here. On the horizontal plane, it's like our time and space reality, the variation in time and space, the playmat of life, if you like. And the vertical connection is the spirit coming down into experience in the world. The unity coming into the realm of separation, relative existence. And this to me, the pure light in the center is us holding the worlds together, holding our time and space experience, and that divine connection to here and now, always being present in whatever we're doing. It's holding it together as one. Okay, so there's a couple of things I wrote down that I wanted to bring in towards the end. So basically, the divine light coming to know itself is happening through us coming to know ourselves, because it's the same thing. Or no thing, it's the same process. So we came from a big ball of burning light, and this is where we are now, because this is all there is, right? So we are in that pure creative potential moment, every moment. It's just our time and space mind tells us, oh, we can't do this because of this past experience, or we can't do this because of that future consequence. And so it's like our time and space mind is like it's like bringing that pure consciousness into limitation, which is not a bad thing, because that limitation is necessary to have the experience. Yeah, and this kind of journey, which appears to be a solid journey. So essentially, now is all there is. It's all happening now. Love is all there is. And we are the creators of our own destiny. The source and the destination, we can have a source and we can have a destination only in time and space, as we talked about. But beyond time and space, in essence, there is only here and now, and this is perennially so. This is the perennial philosophy that all the different traditions might express in different ways. This is, or might see the similarities in. This is the one unity of spirit coming into experience. Okay, one thing I should say, I said love is all there is, and yet there's many things in our world which don't seem loving. And so I wanted to say that love is all there is, but love is what allows us to have our experience. And then there's this free will, because we are this consciousness deciding. There's this, we can decide where we direct our attention and where we direct our consciousness. So love is all there is, unless it chooses something else. It's like, and if it chooses something else, there's an experience of something else. Like if we choose to have an experience being distant from love, which at times we do, then that is an experience we have too. But it's remembering it's all love that allows it to happen, that allows the light and dark to be. And another way to explain our experience is, if this is pure light, then our experience is the introduction of the shadow. The experience is the introduction of what obscures the light. It's like a game of cosmic hide and seek, where we hide our true nature and uncover our true nature. And so you fulfilling yourself is God fulfilling God's self. One. There's only one. There's only one, and it's happening through us, as us. It is us. And so this is about coming back to that as our true nature, the true nature as the creative power of the universe unfolding and choosing as it unfolds, choosing what we want to have, what we want to be, what we are. Any questions? Maybe lots of questions? No? None? Okay. Alright then, if that's the case, a couple more things just to actually, these things I scribbled down before the talk tonight, and they just seemed relevant, so I'll see what I've written. Your consciousness experiencing itself. This is growth, evolution, revolution. So knowing that we are here and now, and this is where we make our decisions, this is a revolution of being. This is an empowerment of the here and now towards creating the experience we want to have. It's like we have a dream of separation and a dream of unity. Which one do we want to have? Which one do we want to have? And I say a dream because in time and space, we've seen that timeless beginning, timeless end, there's only timelessness. So it's like our worldly experience has this quality of dream. It's very real, but when you relate it to the oneness, it doesn't exist anymore, because in oneness there is only one, there is no separation. So your consciousness experiencing itself, expressing itself, coming to know itself. We are fragments, and we return to the whole through realization. We are the whole. We are the fragments, we are in the fragments, and we are the realization. We are the essence, and we are the journey. We are the whole lot. And you choose where you want to be. You choose. And of course there are always limitations and parameters until we choose otherwise. So separation or unity, that's our choice. Or separation in service to the unity we are. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening.